In order for people to find the truth, we have to be able to expose and determine the lies that are being told. And a lot of people might find that to be offensive, but when you are exposing lie, you are bringing out truth. And when you are thusly bringing out truth, you are then bringing light, which is understanding. Today, this program, I want to devote to one particular subject that is the cause of much controversy, but one in which the scriptures and history is very, very clear as to what is true. The doctrine that I wish to go over with today is called the Rapture Doctrine. And the Rapture Doctrine is one that causes much confusion because of the fact that the scriptures have been taken away from those people who inherently had knowledge and the secrets to unlock the wisdom in the scriptures. What we must understand is that Satan is no longer on the outside throwing stones at the building. He is now on the inside. Okay? He's on the inside of the house wreaking havoc. And the holders of the house, the householders, or those who inhabit the house, do not necessarily know that Satan is there, in which hence is the word deception. And that is what I wish to bring forth today, is that the Rapture Doctrine is deception. And it will cause many a people to have a different view of what the scripture has to say. Unequivocally, and without a shadow of a doubt, when we get through with this two-part series of the Rapture Doctrine, you will see the falseness and the view that some people hold of scripture is just not correct. So what I want to do with this portion of the TV program is to give you the history behind how the Rapture Doctrine was formed. See, and I want to stress this point. Anytime that a doctrine about the Creator or His worship has to be invented, or it has to be, or it just came out of thin air, you have to have some degree of skepticism about that doctrine. And most of our people do not ask where a doctrine came from. Yet we consistently hold fast to these doctrines and we purport them on a daily basis. So what I want to do is I want to get to the history of the Rapture Doctrine, and let's see where it came from. All the information that I have received about the beginnings of the doctrine can be easily found in the Catholic Encyclopedia. As with most false doctrines, we can trace this doctrine right back to the Catholic Church. And with most things dealing with the Catholic Church, we come to understand that it was a reason or purpose behind bringing this doctrine into play. And with this program today, I would like to go over it. So I would ask that you be very attentive. I'm going to go relatively slow with the information. And as I said, you can Google the Rapture Doctrine, find out its origins, and find out where it came from. And the most credible sources, obviously, is the Catholic Encyclopedia, the Encyclopedia Britannica. There are several sources that you can use that will give you the beginnings and the origins of the Rapture Doctrine. So, let's begin at the beginning. The Rapture Doctrine was not taught by the early church. First, let us try and define what the Rapture Doctrine is. And I would like for you to please I'm going to be going through a lot of notes because I have a lot of things written down, and I have a lot of things that I have photocopied, so that to give you the essence and the flavor of what it is that we're speaking of. So, what is the Rapture Doctrine theory? The Rapture Doctrine states, it is the belief that Jesus will rapture the church before Satan, the Antichrist, appears on earth, so that the church will not endure the tribulation of Satan. The fact is, Jesus told us to put the full gospel armor on in Ephesians 6 and stand against Satan, not run from him. So, when we think about what the doctrine states from the get-go, that Jesus will come and rapture up the church or the believers in the coming age, in this age rather, before the tribulation of Satan or the Antichrist. This doctrine has spurned movies, novels, plays, articles, whatever have you. Since the fact that the movies have been made and commercialized the idea of the Rapture Doctrine with the Left Behind series. You understand? We're going to go into the scriptures in the second show, but for now, like I said, I want to go through the history of the Rapture Doctrine. The doctrine started in the Catholic Church. Like I said, with all things that deals with the falseness of Christianity, we deal with this on the same way. What it is, the Catholic Church had a problem years after Martin Luther and the Reformation movement. What happened was, things were getting rough for the Catholic Church, being painted as the beast spoken of in Daniel and the beast spoken of in Revelation. It was causing much confusion and controversy in the Catholic Church, that they were being tied to being the beast. So what they had to do was come up with a way, with a system, with a device to help get the weight off of them because of the Martin Luther Reformation movement. That movement left the Catholic Church at a standstill with their doctrine. And what I mean is this, is that even though Martin Luther did not break away from the fundamental concepts of Christianity, he never broke away from those things which make up the religion of Christianity. He shed all of the things, or most of the things, that dealt with the papacy and most of the doctrines surrounding the papacy and certain festivals. However, he did not get rid of the core Christian doctrines. See, Sunday worship, worship of the cross, Christmas, Easter. See, during Martin Luther's time, these things were staples in the Christian church. So, what I want to do is let you understand how doctrine gets thwarted and purported. So, going back to Martin Luther and the Reformation movement in the Catholic Church, Martin Luther when he nailed his theses, 95 theses, to the Church at Wittenberg, he just let the Catholic Church know that the Pope is no longer the authority, or that he does not recognize the Pope as the authority, and that his breakaway from the church will start what? The Reformation movement. That caused a critical crisis with the church, as I said, being identified as the beast in Daniel and Revelation. It cost them a lot. So what they did was they sought out to rework, rewrite, re-understand the books of Daniel, the prophetic book of Ezekiel, and the book of Revelation under the direction of Pope Leo X. Pope Leo X authorized, assigned, ordered 3 Jesuit priests by the name of one, Francisco Ribera, who was a futurism, rapturist philosopher. Number 2, Luis de Alcazar, who was also into premillennialism, and Cardinal Roberto Bellarmine, and he followed Ribera's school of thought. This futurist rapture doctrine, formulated by these 3 Jesuit priests, mind you, this doctrine that they purported now is going to be the beginnings of the doctrine that we know today as the rapture. And I want you to re-understand why it was introduced. The doctrine was introduced in order to take the heat off of the blast that the Catholic Church was getting from the Reformation movement concerning the Pope being identified with the beast in Revelation and Daniel. Once you trace a thing's origins and see where it originated from, that is how you can tell whether something is of Yah or something is of the devil, whether something is of God or whether something is of Satan. So let's go back to these 3 Jesuit priests who submitted the final doctrine, okay, in 1585. The Catholic Church went over it, and they eventually made it doctrine into the church. However, the church in the end ended up burying the doctrine, not because of its falseness, but because it was not formulated as thoroughly as they would have liked. So let us get into how this doctrine ended up carrying flame and fire after the Roman Catholics basically just kind of buried